To the regularly scheduled public meeting of March 4, 2019 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Please notify the Township Clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at Mayor and Council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. Could everybody please rise for a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilman Bruno?
Here.
Councilman Casio?
Here.
Councilman Cumming?
Here.
Councilman Ullman?
Here.
Council President DeSena?
Here. Let the record request also in attendance, Mayor Calamari, Township Administrator Tovo, Township Attorney Poller, CFO Curran, and Township Clerk Wachowski. Reading of the total list of bills, please.
The following is a list of bills paid since the last bill list was submitted, representing February 1st, 2019 through February 28th, 2019. Total 2018 reserve, $136,176.09. Excuse me. Total 2019 current, $3,228,336.13. Total capital fund, $743,154.59. Total animal control, 0. Total grant fund, 0. Total trust fund, $9,130.61. Total escrow trust, $71,619.25.
Thank you. Approval of minutes, none. Report of the mayor, Mayor Calamari.
Thank you. I don't have a report this evening because we have a lot to do with the budget, so things are moving, all the projects are moving along at a good pace, but other than that, not going to go into any detail with this meeting. I do have a proclamation to read for Women's History Month. Whereas the knowledge and celebration of women's history contributed significantly to the education and lives of all society's members by broadening and increasing all citizens' knowledge of history, developing an appreciation of the roles women have played and their contributions to civilization, understanding the contributions women of different cultures and beliefs have made to world civilization, inspiring all to an appreciation of women's contributions in art, education, medicine, science, mathematics, government, and volunteerism, an awareness of how local women have benefited community life, making women's history fully visible, not hidden, and whereas women throughout the ages have moved history and civilization forward, and whereas our national leaders have acknowledged contributions of women to American culture and the American way of life, whereas be it resolved that every effort be made to develop a deeper understanding and appreciation of women's history in both schools and communities. All citizens of the Township of Washington are urged to take interest in and give full support to qualified women's history programs for children and adults. Now, therefore, I, the Mayor of the Township of Washington, officially proclaim that March 2019 be designated as Women's History Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Allman, report of council.
I don't have a report other than to say, to thank the DMF. There were 3 storms back to back. The streets look great, at least in my neck of the woods, and so I'd just like to acknowledge that.
Thank you. Mr. Cumming?
Very short to report that we have completed the installation excuse me, of the almost free air conditioning units, condensers, coils, furnaces, and so on that were provided to us by Public Service. That was completed this last week, I'm happy to say, and they passed all inspections with the building department, first-class manner. Also, all the LED lighting is complete. Now we have to do is all reap the savings. I also had a positive comment on the snow removal this time. It looks like we're doing a very good job.
Thank you, Mr. Cumming. Mr. Bruno?
No report at this time, thank you.
Dr. Casio?
Yeah, just a brief report. We did have our first shared service meeting with the Borough of Westwood. Mayor Berkner and another councilman were in attendance. We discussed some issues where the borough and the township could share some services and reap some savings and some cooperation, and I will discuss that at another council meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Casio. Very quickly, WCTV Channel 24 FiOS is off until further notice due to Verizon's technical difficulties. Channel 77 is up and running, and the meeting will be available on YouTube. Snow and ice removal, from sidewalks. Snow and ice shall be removed from all businesses and commercial property within 12 hours after the occasion of the fall of snow, sleet, or freezing rain. In the event the snow and ice on a sidewalk has become so hard it cannot be removed without damage to the sidewalk, the person in charge of the entity shall cause enough sand or other abrasive to be put on the sidewalk to make travel reasonably safe, and shall, after weather permits, cause said sidewalk to be thoroughly cleaned. Snow and ice removal from fire hydrants. Every person in charge or control of any building, structure, or lot within the township on which there is a fire hydrant located shall remove sufficient snow and/or ice to allow proper and immediate access to such fire hydrant within 24 hours after the occasion of any fall of snow, sleet, or freezing rain. Senior bus shuttle. Our senior citizen and people with disability bus is here, and our drivers are ready and poised to service our seniors and those with disabilities. The municipality will be assuming responsibility for those in need of assistance for shopping, social services, and medical services. If you are a senior or if you have a disability and would like to use the bus service, please call Pat McDermott at 201-664-3268, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 a.m. till 1:30, and let her know your wish to be added to the going shopping list, senior meeting list, or the medical appointment list. Just provide her with your name, address, and telephone number. I'm not done yet. The township bus goes to ShopRite in Hillsdale on Mondays, picks up residents at home to attend scheduled Golden Seniors meetings on Wednesdays, and alternates between Paramus Park Mall and Westwood Plaza on Fridays. The day put aside for doctor's visits is Friday. Appointments should be scheduled before 11 a.m. Pet licensing. The $25 late fee is now in effect. The clerk's office has registered 679 dogs. What about cats?
No new ones.
All right.
35, 36. Yeah.
Daylight savings time. Daylight savings time 2019 begins Sunday, March 10th. Turn your clocks ahead 1 hour and replace your smoke alarm batteries and carbon monoxide batteries. And I'd like to commend the DMF on a wonderful job with the last 3 storms. Thank you. At this time, do I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Anybody? Go ahead.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Fasano?
Yes. If anybody would like to come up and address the council, please come up, state your name and address.
Diane Grimaldi, 441 Van Emberg Avenue. I just want to know if the actual and potential Viviano matter will be discussed tonight in closed session?
No,
Okay, so no vote will be taken?
that won't be
nothing.
discussed, and it won't be, because there's more material coming in. I'm getting a look from everybody.
Okay.
But I had conversations with the attorney for the objecting group, and he requested an adjournment of the consideration of this issue until he can get his response in. And I advised that to Mr. Shemanowitz as well, as the attorney for the applicant. And I basically said that all things being equal, it would be considered at the 18th, March 18th meeting,
Okay.
if that suits everybody.
Sure. We had it on the original list, that's why.
Yeah,
So we're removing that, right, Mr.
right,
Powell?
right. Well, we were going to until we had a flurry of,
Okay. So the answer is no, will not be discussed tonight,
Thank you.
Mrs. Grimaldi.
And my one last question is, at the last regular meeting that I attended, I asked if the Vivianos were, needed permission from the town to cut down trees, and I was told it was going to be looked into by the property maintenance.
Do we have an answer
Officer,
for
do
that,
we have an
Mr.
answer?
Tova?
They would need permission, except we have to realize they are currently zoned under farmland, and part of that provision is for trees for for burning. So we're looking at that, and we're looking to set up a meeting on the property to review the violations that need to be taken care of now.
Terrific. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Como. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Good evening.
James Golden, 460 Van Emberg Avenue. So I live on Van Emberg. The traffic on the street, there's a lot of aggressive driving, a lot of speeding. I probably get tailgated a good, 4 or 5 times a week coming out of my house. So wanted to raise the issue and see what could be done about it.
We'll certainly mention it to the chief and see if he can put some, the portable electronic sign up there to
Yeah,
remind
that'd be
people, and, see about maybe a little more enforcement.
Yeah, it's not just, it's not just the speeding, it's the tailgating. You know what I mean? And it doesn't even matter if you're going 30, 35, you get a tailgater no matter what.
All right, I'll ask him to put that on the sign also to remind people not to tailgate.
Thank you.
I would agree, living on Van Emberg and driving to 17 every morning. They come through the flashing light, and it's a rush to get to 17, and if you're in the way doing 30, 35, I've been passed in front
Yeah,
of
I've had people pass me.
Immaculate Heart, not Immaculate Heart, yeah, Immaculate Heart. So I would concur with that assessment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time?
Good evening. My name is Steve Highland. I live at 745 Taylor Avenue. Many people probably don't even know where Taylor Avenue is, but I've lived there over 60 years. So I just want to set the table to indicate it's not a gripe, but I do have a concern. Last summer, I actually witnessed or observed when I was walking the dog, I think there's 7 intersections on Lincoln Avenue from Colonial all the way to Mountain, but with the exception of Mountain. So what I'm driving at is there was a significant expense to put in the ADA ramps and all of those intersections. Does anybody recall what the cost of that might have been? Because I know that's got to be substantial for compliance purposes, correct?
It wasn't a big part of the project, but it was part of each project as the streets got paved, yes.
Okay. So my concern is that we went through the expense of installing these, which is important for either elderly or disabled people or what have you, just for convenience and making it a little bit more manageable if people have difficulty. I know you complimented the DPW, but to my mind, I called several weeks ago, and I can't seem to fathom why they keep plowing all of the snow right to the ADA access. So making it incumbent on whoever the resident is to clear that out. Now selfishly, I'll tell you, I'm walking my dog. I cannot actually get to any portion of where we generally walk the dog. There's 4 feet of snow. Generally, a lot of times, if you go around the town, you'll see there's a considerable amount of access that's not even clear. Right outside here at the apron by the drive-about, by the flag, that's blocked. I'm not disabled, but people that are, I think, that's disrespectful. I don't see
Well,
the
it is the
point.
homeowner's responsibility to clear those ADA
Well,
ramps.
but not, President, you're president of the council, correct? I'm not citing that the homeowner should be the liable party. I'm saying, why would the plow, instead of mitigating the accumulation, today we had maybe 6 or 7 inches of snow. If they didn't plow all that snow right to where that ADA is, then it's more manageable for the resident, right? It's going to be maybe 35 thereabouts overnight, I don't know, maybe even
It'll
colder,
freeze.
and it's going to freeze. Once it's 4 feet of snow, now you've created a challenge for anybody, whether they're youthful or not. I'm just saying, if you drove around town, and I did make a call this morning, I haven't been home yet to see if anybody answered me, but I did make a call this morning to a Bill Lawler. He's the supervisor.
He's the DMF supervisor.
And he indicated that Dan Scudieri is the director. I know Dan, and I know the guys are doing a good job. I appreciate that. But it just doesn't make sense to actually have the purpose of an ADA access ramp and then you block it, and then you make it more of a challenge or an obstacle for people that live right there. It doesn't make sense. That's my point.
Okay.
So if you actually took a canvas throughout the town, you wouldn't believe it. I could show you the one that's most evident for me. This is what was there this morning, and you could have it if you like. Okay?
Sure.
So this is at 10:15 this morning. So that's the approach, and if it freezes, nobody's going to be able to remove that. You'll actually need a backhoe to do it, or a front loader. Now this is the previous storm. I believe it may have been February, 10th. That's 2 weeks after, so it's still there. That's prior to today. So that's my point. That's what I'm trying to say. Why would we make that investment in making it accessible for people, and then yet it's
That's
not?
Couch Peak in Washington?
Yes, you
Yeah.
can see the lamp, the
Yeah.
street sign.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only one of them. I'm saying, if you went around
They're all
town-
like that. You're right.
They're all, and I know they're working hard. I used to work for utilities, so I used to be accustomed to working 16 hours a day. It's not easy, but why would we actually do something deliberately when we can mitigate it and control it? That's my point.
Well, what happens, and I do know where Taylor is, by the way.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Sure do. I go to Wilkes Deli all the time.
I was going to say, it's Hillsdale / Washington Township.
That's Taylor Street.
Yes, that is
We're
correct.
we're Taylor Avenue.
But anyway, I live on a corner, and I have the same issue. And the thing is, the plows have to put the snow somewhere, and the most convenient place for them to put is on a corner. And they do it on every corner. And I plow with my ADA, and I actually go into the street.
I know,
And I've been doing it for 20 years, and
Councilman, my point is that you have elderly people that, I mean, honestly, it's a sign of respect, actually. I mean, if they're plowing, and I know they're working hard, just go that extra 10 feet. It doesn't even have to be 10 feet, but it shouldn't be deliberately blocking.
I want to agree with you.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't mean to
Yeah.
gripe, I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
I
I can't fathom why that would even be the case.
I
So-
understand, and they've
so when they
been
spoke,
spoken to about it in the past.
Okay.
I've spoken to them and say, listen, all these are entrances to the sidewalk, okay, for pedestrians, and it does no good to have, 7 or 8 feet of snow that the resident has to dig through, so someone could walk through, because I have, kids going to the high school
Exactly.
on Ridgewood Road.
So- This is
since
my
they don't
point.
do it, it's incumbent to me to do it, and I
But
feel
this-
obligated.
This is my point. Even if we ask them, can't they be instructed? Because obviously, I don't know if the township attorney has a perspective on this. Are we inviting some sort of lawsuit or some type of liability because we're impeding people from actually having free access? That's what the ADA law of 1994 was. It's a federal law.
Yes.
It's not a New Jersey law. Is that correct?
It's a federal law.
Correct. So compliance-wise, it doesn't make it feasible or practical to just disregard that. I've grown up in this town. I've lived here 60-plus years. I've said that already, but it's a great town. There's good people, a lot of good people. But really, it's an expression of disrespect, in my opinion. If people even drive through, they go, wow, look at this. It's a mess. In a lot of cases, it's a mess. We don't have sidewalks all over the town, so it wouldn't be compounded like you're having to do that and address every single intersection. But Colonial Boulevard is the main cut-through for Washington Township, right? Take a drive through to Colonial tomorrow. You would be amazed at the intersection by Lincoln and Colonial. And if there was a kid that actually had to get to the high school, or an elderly person in a Jazzy, or anybody that even wanted to go out for a walk, or somebody that just had a child, they wanted to walk the stroller, you don't want them in the street because the snow is there. That's my point.
Okay, we'll take a look at it.
Okay, so I had one more item, and I don't mean to belabor this. I was reading the ordinances, and I was kind of disturbed by the fact that I don't even go to the gas station here. I used to go there when it was I guess it was not a Flying Egg, that was the other one, Wally's. Anyway, the signage on that looks like it's on Route 46 in Little Ferry.
Our property maintenance officer is working on an ordinance for us to review in the upcoming weeks to
Okay,
handle that.
but in addition, President,
We have nothing on the books to stop him from doing that.
well, there is something on the books.
I've complained about it since it went up.
But
so.
there is something on the books if I research this properly, so forgive me.
I'll take it if
No,
you have it.
I'm just suggesting this, so He has an electronic sign in there. That's supposed to be not permitted, based on what I read in the town ordinances. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's not permissible. But you guys and ladies...
Well, I was talking about the physical signs the adhesive signs he put up covering the windows so you can't see who's inside.
Well, even that, and
Yeah.
along with the electronic sign, but it looks kind of trashy.
Yes.
That's my opinion. I'm not saying that
We
you have to comply.
did ask the property maintenance officer to look into it, and he's getting an ordinance for us to review in the next coming weeks for us to possibly pass.
Okay, so just to retract as well, thank you, but what would the disposition of the plowing be? I mean, honestly, when that freezes...
We'd have to talk to the DMF supervisor and see what we could do about it.
Well, I talked to the supervisor, Bill Lawler, and he was tired, I could tell, and I wasn't giving him a hard time. I was just trying to express to him what I just had presented to everybody. And he said it's got to be the administration's job. So I'd actually left a message with, I guess his name is Robert, the administrator.
Mr. Tovo's right there.
At the end.
Yes, and I called you back, left you a
Oh, you
message.
did?
I did.
Thank you, I'm sorry, I wasn't home.
It's okay.
Okay, but it just disturbed me, so I wanted to bring that to you.
Thank you. Here's your photos, thank you.
Okay.
Can I just say that I live on a corner as well, on Van Emberg and Clark, and what I find is the initial clearing is not the issue or the problem. It's when they come in with the pickup and they try to clean up the corners, and they push everything to give, I guess, a turn radius and visibility across the corner, and they do, it pushes it right into the ADA ramp, and I'm fortunate I have a snow blower, and my wife is very strong, so she also clears it. But it is a challenge, and, you know, it's, I would say it's a challenge with every snowstorm. So, you know, perhaps that practice of clearing up the corners, maybe that's the issue, but if that can be looked at as
This is
part of
on Washington Avenue. And if you really wanted to try and attempt to make some sort of a radius accommodation there, you can't do it. That's like the street. That's the straight road you were saying about Route 17. People are so anxious to get to the Parkway, taking Washington Avenue. It's brutal. And
Sure.
that's coming up the hill and they're going really fast. Coming down is even worse because now they're even, you know, inertia is just that.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to address the council at this time? Good evening.
Jerry Fox, 8 Catharina Place. And just going back to the snow removal, I'm just curious as to, like, how far out from my property line should I have to shovel to exit onto the street? Because they came through today, and I know the snow has to go someplace, and they come up the block, I'm not on a corner, and I don't have sidewalks. They completely barricade me in. And I don't have a snow blower, and I shoveled out, and it took me about another 45 minutes to shovel what the town snowplow barricaded me in.
Can you move the mic a little closer to you? I'm sorry.
Okay, so at that point, the snow is so much harder, and it's very difficult to remove. So I'm like, and I actually walking with my feet, it was between 11 and 12 feet out into the street that I had to shovel to exit out of my property. Now, is there like a law? Then they came around a second time, I got the whole thing done. I went inside. When I came back to go for work, they did it again. So they came closer, and they plowed closer to the curb, and they barricaded me in again.
They're
Just a
supposed to
little-
plow right up against the curb.
Okay, well, they're not. They're not. They're many feet out.
What block are you on?
Catharina.
All right. Mr. Tovo, can you have him go look at Katarina, please?
Yes, sir.
On top of Mrs. Osmond's, Adams Place. I know she's going to mention that. I drove by and they didn't get the curb again.
Oh, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Osmond. I know they didn't plow your curb. I was there.
960 Adams Place, Washington Township. I already thanked the director. I saw him Sunday at church, and I thanked him for curb to curb. And it's the best. You made a statement that I shouldn't, you know, I didn't want to, you have too much to do, but you made a statement in one of your budget meetings that former councilman, longtime councilman and interim mayor made a statement about the plowing being very good. Well, he's right.
Thank you.
This time, the last time, I'm not sure it's because you've been pushing for the curb to curb, and I'm hoping they've done other people. That's why I didn't want to say much, because my house has had almost 100% curb to curb.
Okay, I thought it was
And-
off a little bit. so-
No. It's almost been 100% curb to curb.
When I drove past before the meeting, it looked.
Oh, it was curb to curb, I must say, and as I say, the director himself, I thank personally.
Good, appreciate it.
So, it's not that I just didn't want to take your time right now.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come up and address the council at this time? Seeing no one, do I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSenza?
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. DeSena, just before you start, there was a question raised about the signage in the gas station. Is the sign ordinance that we have about windows and neon, doesn't apply to the gas station? Or does it only apply to the shopping center?
I specifically asked about the gas station's adhesive signs he put up that are like
Okay.
5 feet high. And right now, Mr. Sedekay said there's nothing on the books to prohibit that.
Okay.
And he was going to get us something, because I had gotten a complaint by a mom saying, you can't tell if children are in there purchasing anything, or anybody's purchasing anything inside, because you can't see inside. It's almost, and it's a detriment to him, because nobody would know if anything's going on inside that vestibule, that off shopping area, if something's going on. If the police drove by, they can't see in either, so.
Okay.
Michael, I believe you're correct. It's worded just for the shopping center windows, not any others.
Thank you.
But Mr. Sedekay is working on something for himself to help us. Anything else?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Under ordinances, adoption, second reading, none. Introduction, first reading, ordinance number 19-02, an ordinance prohibiting smoking in designated public places and within municipal facilities in the Township of Washington. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 1902 at first reading by title.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
No.
Council President DeSenza?
Yes. Resolution number 19-147, authorizing publication of ordinance number 1902 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Can I ask a question? I thought we vote and then we talk, but,
No, you motion and then you talk and then you vote.
okay. No.
Council President DeSenza?
Yes.
May I ask a question now?
Sure.
Is it possible to clarify, many residents maintain and have invested in outdoor kitchens, outdoor facilities, either by the pool, they have a gazebo, they have could be attached to the house that might have a grill top, a cooktop, I don't know how that's defined. It may have a refrigerator,
Okay, I
an
think
ice
you're
maker.
in the wrong ordinance.
Mike, we
Yeah,
skipped
I thought
one.
we did,
This is smoking.
This is
in
smoking.
designated public
1902.
places.
This was smoking. we
And
just
that was
did.
just a resolution, the publication that you voted on. Now you can
Oh,
introduce. So now you can make the motion and
Okay.
raise the issue.
Do you want to hold, we're in a
I'll
different
wait.
one. Yep. Ordinance number 19-03, an ordinance regarding second kitchens in single-family residences in the Township of Washington. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 19-03 at first reading by title.
So moved.
Second.
a question, please.
Yes, Mr. Ullman.
The last question I asked.
I think it's a good point, actually. If you're talking about outside things, this is obviously designed for, the structure itself, the dwelling, not the outside. But I think if you wanted some clarification language, I think that's a good idea. Now, I think if you're going to get into it, you mentioned like a barbecue area and stuff like that, cooktop, and I think that's, if you want to allow that, that's perfectly okay. If you're talking about an adjunct to the house, then you start to get a little closer to something that you may not want to permit.
Well, so
Well, the reason for this ordinance was for internal kitchens, making it a two-family for
Right, correct.
realtors
Right.
trying to get a two-family
Right.
CL.
Right.
Correct, but if a resident in their house or on their property has invested and put a kitchen or a sink in their backyard with a cooktop and a refrigerator, it has the components that, make it, or would allow them to say it's a two-family. I agree with what you're saying, Mr. DeSena. It's outdoors. I mean, no one makes that assumption, or no one could jump to that conclusion, but, I think if there is if there's leeway or there's a potential that it could be challenged, why not just eliminate it and talk about it being within the physical
How about,
It says right in the thing,
how about-
in. It says an ordinance regarding second kitchens in a
Single
single-family
family.
house.
Yeah, but the wording doesn't say it, so what I'm thinking of, if you'd like, let's put the presence of a second indoor kitchen,
Interior kitchen?
indoor or interior.
That help, Mike?
I think interior, yes.
Okay.
So if we make that edit and
Yep.
pass it anyway, and we'll
Yeah,
make
but
the edit?
because you're introducing it now.
Yes, we're
that's fine.
introducing it, so.
Yes, that's fine.
We okay with introducing it, Mike, if we make it
Sure,
interior or
yes.
indoor? Okay. Roll call? Sure.
Councilman Bruno?
No.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Resolution number 19-148, authorizing publication of ordinance number 1903 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
No.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Ordinance number 19-04, an ordinance regarding short-term rental property prohibitions in the Township of Washington. Do we have a motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 1904 at first reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
Question.
Yes.
Just the whereas, third whereas, in the township's experience as well as common experiences dictate conclusion that short-term rental frequently result in public nuisance, noise complaints, sanitary issues, overcrowding, illegal parking. Is that the township's experience?
That's the rubric, one of the things that you want this kind of a thing. I don't think that the township really probably has experienced a lot of this.
I mean, I just,
Well, there's two rentals on Airbnb right now for rent, but I don't know what, I haven't been able to ask the police department if we've had any issues with either one of those addresses.
okay. The second question I had is, I guess, page 3, 580-89, regulation fee and charges. Charges. I guess I'm trying to understand what we're feeing and charging if we're prohibiting such a practice. I mean, are we trying to retain a right for future? Because I would think we would just change the ordinance.
I really think this is a kind of a brand-new thought process, just putting it in and just leaving it as an open-ended thing. Not that maybe there won't be any. There may not be any additional regulations. The ordinance may be clear and enforceable just by itself. But there may be things that just, other towns, I guess, just have seen fit to put it in as an open door thing.
I guess there, if we had to, if we.
You'd have to do
No, but I'm
something.
saying if we incurred attorney fees, we could charge them for it.
Well-
We could pass an ordinance saying
Yeah,
that
you'd have to-
resident owes
yeah,
us that money, right?
It's just kind of putting, it's just putting
Mike, would that-
an open item that you can fill in if in fact you actually have this experience. You may not have it.
It's a placeholder, basically.
Yeah,
for-
exactly. Yeah.
For fines and other costs that the township may incur. I don't think we're getting into the business of renting homes, yes. Because we're going to leave that to another authority, is that correct, Mr. Pollard? We talked about that?
Right.
At the county level?
You know,
Another level?
it's like you're talking about the fines and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we put that with the court, with the restitution aspect of things?
Yes.
So this would, there are ordinances which basically lays out what the law is, but there are adjuncts to that. For example, our abandoned properties ordinance. It says what it says. But now we're formulating a registration form, and that's going to put in additional things that are going to be asked for. They're not in the ordinance, but it's now going to be implemented by the code enforcement officer, and I'm actually working on it, and we're working on it right now. So it basically is a placeholder and a starting point if necessary. And obviously, it's got to come to the council, so it's not, nobody's doing anything until
We approve.
so you take a look at it, so.
So I would say that only because in the paragraphs before, we are
Prohibiting it.
expressly prohibiting it.
Yeah, but the bottom line is to enforce it sometimes, or to find out about it, or to assist in addressing it. Sometimes you might need additional regulations or additional input, even though it says what it says. We have plenty of ordinances which say we should be doing stuff or shouldn't be doing stuff, but there are other things that assist in that.
Okay.
Anything else, gentlemen? Mr. Cummings, Mr. Bruno, Dr. Castle?
Yep.
Roll call.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Resolution number 19-149, authorizing publication of ordinance number 19-04 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Council resolutions. Resolution number 19-150, appointment of public defender, Mario Bai. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's a new person, but we did this.
Yes,
It's a new
because the
person.
gentleman that was appointed took another job, and this is on recommendation from the court.
Who's the prior gentleman? Mr. Kim.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
King.
Kim.
We okay with them, gentlemen?
Yep. Well,
Roll call.
Councilman Bruno?
yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Resolution number 19-151, appointment to open term vacancy of the Zoning Board of Adjustment and restatement of existing members and terms, Dennis Moore. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. I believe we saw Mr. Moore's interest at the last meeting,
Yes.
and there was a discussion, or I guess I had raised, the issue of the alternates moving up into that slot.
We have received no resignations to date.
Were they contacted?
I believe so. I know they both were aware that they needed to resign,
Okay. Okay.
and neither one has submitted their resignation, so we need to fill the vacancy.
Understood.
So they were contacted.
What's that?
Mr.
They
Legrado
were-
was sitting in the
Mr.
audience
Legrado
last
was here at last meeting also, so he knew.
week. I have not heard from Ms. Plantamura.
Yeah.
But they were contacted.
I did not personally contact them, but I know they're both aware that they needed to resign.
No, I know you didn't, but if someone did,
Yes,
said you need to.
I
Okay.
believe so. Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Individual resolutions. Resolution number 19-152, authorized transfer of appropriations in the 2018 budget in the first 3 months of the year 2019, gasoline and diesel. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
How much are we moving? I'm just trying to find the thing.
Mrs. Curran, would you be able to?
Sure, last month we approved the first one, and when I went to put it into Edmonds, there was a late bill for office supplies. I didn't have enough to cover the O&E on the administration, so I had to move it around from O&E back into the S&W. Had to just transfer from one line to the other. So if you see, the original one was 6, 3, and 6, and the new one is 7, 2, and 6.
7, 2, and 6. Oh, okay.
Do we know now that have all invoices been received?
Well, I'm looking at them. I haven't seen anything besides these last couple ones that came in all this.
And these are in,
Judy, can you pull the mic down?
sorry.
we have invoices that we're still possibly receiving for 18.
There was a couple of late invoices from WB Mason. I guess they were behind in giving supplies out.
But in terms of the fuel, fuel.
Oh, fuel? No.
Okay.
I haven't seen any.
Trying to get the final payroll invoice.
Actually, I reviewed that, and cost was less. Why, I don't know. They charged us less, so.
Anything else, gentlemen, on that?
No.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Resolution number 19-153, approval of emergency temporary appropriations due to emergent conditions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is that for the emerging condition for 152?
No, that's for the temporary budget.
Second.
153.
Okay.
Councilman Bruno?
Oops, I got a question.
Hold on, Mr. Ullman has a question.
So what's the total now? Or is this a new grand total, the 1.7? Or is that an addition?
No, it's an addition. It's in the cover resolution.
So it's now 5.1?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the need for the addition?
Well, when you do the temporary budget, hoping that you actually pass the regular budget on a basis. So you have to charge S&W out and some O&E, and if you don't have enough money in those line items, you can't encumber them without a second temporary budget.
Judy, can you
Sorry,
just pull it down?
You can't encumber those items without a second temporary budget. So you
Okay.
can't book the payroll, you can't really encumber any POs if you don't have enough money in those line items. So you have to adopt a second emergent budget.
So the,
Go ahead, Mike.
so the first resolution was for 24%, is it?
26.2.
26. So this is another,
You're allowed another 26.25, that's low, that's way below 27.
and
I'm sorry, but if you don't talk into the microphone, nobody's going to hear you. Just put it, this,
Okay, got
like, if you could do this, then you're the correct distance away from the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida.
So this is about 40% of our total spend, isn't it now? Our total spend's around 12 million?
Your budget's about 13.
12.
This is 5.1.
Yeah, so I don't think we've ever put that much in the first 3 months.
Well, I can tell you right now, if you don't do it, you can't do your payroll and you can't encumber.
Doesn't the first 25% cover your payroll for 3 months? If we take 25% of all the line, how can that
No,
not,
it doesn't.
how can that not do
It
it?
doesn't. It doesn't.
So,
It might have been based upon last year's, but this year you have full-time employees. You have some people making more than what they were making last year, so it's not enough in that temporary budget.
yeah, but it's not $5 billion worth.
so no one's received a raise.
Your original budget was 26%. I'm adding 1.7 to cover your payroll to the end of April and any other encumbrances.
I understand that, but it's about 40% of our total spend, which we've never, since I've been here, put 40% in the first 3 months. The only time we put extra money, maybe when we went into April, but that was
Right,
nothing
well, this
like.
is taking you to the end of April,
Okay.
if you don't adopt the budget.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, if payroll is X amount, we take 1/4 of it. You know, we're putting in 3 months, so how do we not cover payroll? You know, we have payroll in our budget for X amount, that's part of the 12 million. You're taking
That
one,
was not put in, wasn't that was based upon last year's, I reviewed everything. And in order for us to book the payroll to the end of April, we would have to do this.
okay.
I understand that. What I don't understand is, referees, telephone, other expenses, so understanding you need to have adequate appropriations for salary and wages. All these other lines, I mean, there's, 70 lines, 80 lines on this page, on these pages. For PRFS and PERS,
They're due in April.
and we didn't appropriate anything?
If we would have done that in the first temporary, we wouldn't have enough money.
So
So that's why you do it in the second temporary.
in the first budget, in the first temporary budget for 4 point whatever it was, there was no PRFS, there was no PERS or PFRS?
No, because you would have gone over your 26%. And the situation that we have, it's due in April. But ADS pays it, they want the money available at the end of March. So you have to have that in this emergent budget, you won't be able to do it. They want the money transferred over into the payroll account at the end of March. March 27 to be exact.
To me, the issue really is here, all towns are operating under a temporary budget, 26.25%. The timing of the pension bills is just not consistent with a temporary budget. It needs to be done later in the year to avoid having to do an emergent appropriation to cover it. And if someone's not doing that, I don't know how they're getting around it.
We did it for 3 years without doing this extra amount, so I don't know how we did it also.
Well, I
Unless
don't
we
want to
didn't
comment
pay
what
them.
may have been done,
Huh?
but
Maybe we didn't pay them in April.
Could have been encumbered and not a part of the budget, which that you're not supposed to do.
So are these a strict formula, or is it?
No, I went through every single line item, and I figured out every person's salary to the end of April and how much we would need on each line item.
Okay, how about if I may interrupt, how about the non-salary items? So,
I went through every single item, and some of them were near spent already as a part of the temporary budget. Because in the temporary budget, you put in a couple $100s in. Like, for instance, we had some money in training in some areas. There were some people already taking classes. So that money's been spent. There's hardly anything left in that area.
so, honestly, I try to look at these things very closely. The fact that we're putting in another 100,000 in insurance and workman's comp, another 125 for health, dental,
That's your
life,
second quarter-
accident.
That's your second quarter GIF bills, okay? And the health bills run about $60,000 a month. That's for March and April to go in there.
So if you take 26% a quarter, shouldn't that take you January, February, March?
No, the problem is that when you do 26%, okay, what happens is that you'll take 26% and you'll divide it up. Now, during your first quarter, there are certain bills that you're paying that actually cost more than 26%.
Okay.
So you need to look over every single bill from the previous year. Mr. Tova was new. I don't even know if he had an opportunity to do that, am I right? And we discussed the fact that if you can't have an opportunity to do that, then you have to do a second emergent budget.
Okay.
Yeah, we set up
And you
in,
have to understand also, this becomes a part of your regular budget. So what happens is, once you adopt the regular budget, this all it gets in context together, okay? So
Understood.
when I go in and I actually put the new budget in, it just adds to this, that's all it does. It doesn't mean that all this is gonna be spent, but you have to have enough in your S&W or you cannot book your payroll. It'll be a big audit comment.
But the reality is, once you do this budget, it's in there and can be spent before we get our budget done. So if you put in $50,000 for X, Y, Z, and maybe that's over or under, but there's $50,000 in there before we approve the budget
But I
that could be spent tomorrow.
I haven't done that. This is so close. It's
No,
to an
I'm
exact
not saying you
science
did,
almost.
but I'm saying if
could
it's
happen.
in there, it could be spent tomorrow because we've moved it.
It could be, but what I'm telling you is that it's so exact, there's no room for overspending. First of all, you're not gonna pre-book your payroll, number one. You don't even know what your payroll
No, it's
is.
just that, to Mike's point, there's a lot of line items here that can go right out the door tomorrow before we get our budget done.
Well, you're
That's
not
why
gonna-
it's,
you're not
that's
gonna-
why it's an issue for
you're not
us to
gonna
get the
prepay-
budget done
you're
as
not
soon as
gonna-
possible.
You're not gonna prepay your
we say
health,
that
medical,
every
and
year.
dental. You're not gonna prepay that.
No,
But if
I'm
you
not
don't
talking
have-
about that, there's just some oddball things here. We can go through every one. It's not the point. I mean, the point is, it's here, it can be spent, but if it's tight and you've approved
Like,
it,
for instance,
and
right, look at
you're
Winter,
keeping an
look
eye
at
on it,
Winter
then-
Watch, 15,000.
what?
Winter Watch, 15,000.
Yeah,
That's already almost spent,
okay.
okay? So if I didn't put that in there, now, the only reason why we're covering
So how
that,
much was in there from the first appropriation?
the reason why we're covering is that there was a general item in S&W, okay?
No, but on the winter watch, we
There was
moved,
nothing in there, because what you're doing is you're putting almost all of it in S&W. We have a control account, so if you want to charge Winter Watch, it's going to come out of S&W. But now, at this point, if you don't fund Winter Watch, you're not going to have enough money in your S&W.
so we didn't have a line item last year for
No,
winter
when
watch?
you do a temporary budget, basically
No,
put
our
it...
regular budget. Did we have a winter
A
watch?
regular budget, yes.
Right, so we
Regular
should have
budget.
taken 26% of that winter budget and put it in. Now you're taking another 15,000, correct?
Well, what I'm saying is that of the, I don't know if the budget was reviewed last year. I don't know. So
What
when
does that mean?
temporary budget was put in, okay,
Yeah.
this might have been missed, I don't know. Okay, but
No, they took, we received an Excel spreadsheet from the former administrator, and we had every line item, and we had the percentage of every line item, and it all tied out to a total number. But every line item in our budget was listed, the percentage was listed, and the amount was listed, for everything. So how it could be missed, I don't know, because it was line by line, similar to what you did, took 26% and said, this is the amount we're moving over. And we did. So if there was a winter watch line item, which there was, we moved 26% of that over. Whatever it was, I don't know. But now we're moving 40% of our budget in temporary hold right now, which is large.
Well,
It's
what I'm
just,
telling you
for
is
us,
that
it's big.
Probably the 26% was sitting in, this year was sitting in S&W.
No, I'm talking about the whole thing. Forget the S&W. There's nothing against you. It's a concept that we haven't had in 3 years, that's all I'm saying. And it's a big number that we're moving over, that we've never moved over this amount.
Well, I understand that, the only thing is that, and if you talk about a concept, fine, I don't know if it was, I'm not saying it wasn't done right in the past, but when I look at my records now, I know this has to be done.
Okay. So let me ask you one question, and then I'm done. So let's say we move a line item, and we put $15,000 into it, and then we do a budget, we say we need 1,000. What happens to the 14? You've moved it already, right? We shifted around?
This is not a matter of moving, okay? This is what happens is you're allowed to deliver, like say for instance, okay, what I have to do is, you have your regular budget now, so if you decided that you're going to put $800,000 in DPW salaries, okay? I have to look at the first temporary and then what I'm doing in second temporary, okay? I couldn't go above that $800,000, so I looked at what you have already actually recommended for 2019. With these two combined, I could never go over what you would have had in last year's budget.
Okay, so
or this
you're
year's
looking at a
budget.
recommended versus an approved number that the council has
Right, I'm trying to
approved.
get you to the point where you have to
Okay.
spend this, you have to.
So you put a recommended number, a percentage, the council comes and says, we don't want a budget for that this year, for argument's sake, 15,000. What happens to the 15,000 that you've appropriated for that line item? It
This
goes-
15.
No, forget that, any 15, just conceptually, just stay with me here, conceptually, that's all I want to know. You move something over, the line item, we look at it and say, you know what, we don't want to budget that line item this year. whatever it is, I don't care. But we moved something over because you saw it had to be moved, I get it. So what happens to that money that we moved from this temporary appropriation that we no longer will budget for?
First of all, the term move is not the right term. We're not moving anything, okay?
Do you understand
All right, I
conceptually what I'm
understand,
trying to
but
say?
first
So
of all,
that's all I
right,
want to
okay,
know, what happens
right,
to
okay,
it?
but first of all, it's not moving, okay? The other's like I
Okay, so it's
said,
stationary.
okay, I'm trying to explain to you. When you look, it's like, you have told me in 2019 budget that you're looking at X amount of dollars, okay? Say it's just $100,000, okay? I would never get to the point of a second temporary budget that I would even be near the $100,000, okay? And I know from past budgets, a certain amount of money that you have to have in certain area, okay? Like, for instance, if you tell me your cops are getting paid $2 million, okay? I'm not gonna put $2 million into a second temporary budget. So I more or less know what the budget is from year to year and what you're gonna need from year to year.
Okay,
So at this
but
point in
again,
time,
I'm
by
just
doing
asking a
this-
very, I'm
Right, but
asking a
my-
very
but-
simple
But
question.
your question is, what about if you decided not to approve it, okay? At this point, what I'm doing here, if you didn't approve this, you wouldn't be approved anywhere near the 2019 budget allocation at all.
So,
You know what I'm saying? In other words, like, I've looked at that number, so unless you were to decrease your budget in half,
No,
then
I'm
maybe
talking
that
about,
would happen.
I'm talking conceptually about a line item. I'm not arguing the point with you. I'm just saying, you move $15,000 for chair removal. We're gonna remove all our chairs. We say, we're not gonna pay for removal of chairs. But you move 15. What happens to the 15 if we don't approve it in the budget? That's my only question. It's a conceptual
The
question.
question is, it's not moving.
Well, whatever it is you
It's
want
all-
to do,
it's
you
all under-
appropriate it. So
it's
you
all under
appropriated
OE.
it,
Now,
you
the thing is-
appropriated, we do not approve the appropriation. What happens to it is what I'm trying to get to.
You don't approve the resolution doesn't go through, just like you approve any, you don't approve it, you don't approve it. But everything is under O and E anyway, okay? Everything's under O and E anyway. So the thing is, if it's in one line under O and E, it's gonna flow up to the control O and E regardless.
So there's basketball referees, and I'm not picking on them, it's just a number. So $9,000. We are appropriating tonight, and we're putting in the temp budget, $9,000.
Right. Because when you look at
We-
your bill list,
we-
they were paid a lot out, and there wasn't enough money in that line item.
So what if we decide at the budget, when we have the rec department here, that, you know what, basketball is bad for your health, we're not doing basketball anymore. So we don't have to, now we don't have to spend that because we are not budgeting for it in the final budget. But we have an appropriation of $9,000 here. When you do, is the $9,000 going to be available to spend for referees, or because we've approved a final budget that has no referees, will the number be zero?
I can understand your question, but the reason why that's in there is because we had referees who were not paid, okay? I had to put that in there because they had to be paid. If that was not, they could not be paid. and
I
was
think,
told they
I
would
think
not
you're
work.
missing the point. It's just a conceptual question. It's not who
So-
got paid, didn't get
To answer
paid.
the question,
Question is
the
that if
money,
it's not- that if it's
the
not
money will be
approved,
paid
it's
out,
not approved.
okay?
If you don't approve
So
something, you don't approve it.
if you chose not to fund it, in the future, you would not get that bill for the referees because we wouldn't be hiring them. But these are services already rendered, so we have to pay.
So it goes to surplus? It gets transferred in the control total to some other account? What happens to it? I don't understand
The
why
money
it's such a
goes to
difficult
pay the
question.
referees. If you choose not to fund it, that would be for the future. That service
They've
already rendered.
They've already
You're
worked
paying
these
it.
guys.
I think, we're
Yeah,
not,
but I guess the question is, what happened, like, getting back to Bob's 15,000, right? Let's just say you put 15,000 for
Right.
Winter Watch, right? We say Winter Watch becomes zero. After next budget meeting, we take Winter Watch and we slash it to zero, right?
Okay.
What happens to the 15,000? Does it go back to the control
It'll be a
number?
part of O&E.
It goes back to the O and E control
And
number.
actually, truthfully speaking, with this temporary budget, I could have just said, I'm just going to put in O&E. I went line by line, so you would have a really clear transparency
Understand.
as to what's going on.
understood and very much
So
appreciated.
the 15,000 would go back to the O
So it
and
would
E
have
budget.
taken maybe 1 hour to do, took like 5 hours to do.
Listen, I understood and very
Okay.
appreciated. I just conceptually, I'm just trying to understand that it's a large amount, that we've never done this large amount. What was done in the past? I don't know. Maybe it was encumbered before and it shouldn't have been. Can't tell you.
Should have been, I mean, I
I
don't know.
I
but-
don't know how the books were being done here. So,
I just
you
know that from my analysis, the budget needs to be done, this has to be done. If not, you can't do your payroll and you can't pay certain items
Okay.
that are coming through.
All right.
Judy, just to restate, and it's a real quick question. Are we saying that all the S&W is to get us through April?
The end of April.
And the other things are more seasonal, that you can't just do 26% of them because Winter Watch is going to die at the end of March.
Right.
And so if we took
Exactly.
just 26% of that,
That's more heavy loaded at the front end.
right, and so you can't just take 26% of
Right.
Winter
Just like,
Watch.
You know, health and medical bills, they're more heavily loaded at the
Okay.
front end. That's
Thank
what you
you.
have to account for.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen?
No.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno,
Yes.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Consent agenda. All the following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Resolution number 19-154, authorized refund of overpayment of Q1 2018 property taxes, 447 Chestnut Street, Block 3309, Lot 8, in the amount of $2,937. Resolution number 19-155, authorized refund of overpayment of property taxes, 620 Valley Court, Block 3201, Lot 15, in the amount of $250. Resolution number 19-156, authorized refund of balance of engineering escrow, 178 Hickory Street, Block 4508, Lot 47, in the amount of $27. Resolution number 19-157, approval of certification list of qualified volunteer members of the Township of Washington Fire Department, year LoSAP 2018. Resolution number 19-158, approval of certification list of qualified volunteer members of the Township of Washington Ambulance Corps, year LoSAP 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Bruno,
Yes.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Do I have a motion to go into conference agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno, Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Next regularly scheduled meeting of the Township Council will be on Monday, March 18, 2019, beginning at 7:30 PM. We will have a special budget meeting this Wednesday at 7:30 PM also. What date is that? Wednesday is the 6th?
The 6th.
The 6th, March 6th.
So nothing tomorrow?
Nothing tomorrow, no. The conference agenda is being suspended to discuss the 2019 budget. We will, gentlemen, we're going to go into closed session to discuss the 2019 budget for the actual and potential litigation and the township attorney portion of the budget. Do I have a motion to enter into closed?
Can I,
Yes, Mr. Owen.
that's pretty broad. There's
Mr.
lines
Pollard,
there.
do you want to? We're going to come back out after, we're going to, on Wednesday meeting, we're going to go through all the numbers in the book itself. But tonight, we're going to get all the explanations we need from Mr. Pollard for the ones that need to be discussed and closed only, Mr. Alden, if that answers your question.
That does. So we will review.
We will review
Department of
line
Law.
by, we will review the Department of Law Wednesday night as our first,
Okay.
but we were going to get all the explanations that need to be done in closed from Mr. Pollard tonight.
Okay.
And then we will not be coming out of closed. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bruno,
Yes.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Cumming,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes.
So, Mike, are we doing budgets after this, or we're not doing budgets?
No, just
Okay,
gonna
so
do
that's going to be
Mr.
Wednesday?
Wednesday, yes.
Okay.
Oh, we're not.
We're going to go through, get all the explanations from Mr. Pollard for the law part of the budget, yes.
Oh, Department of Law.
Yes, correct. Tonight's the Department of, Wednesday, we're going to do Department of Law, and then the Fire Department and the Police Department will join us for their presentation of their budget.
And I thought I was off because planning was canceled.
Yes, you're not off, Mr. Clement.
Do we have a 5-minute break?
Yes, a 5-minute break. Mr. Ricky's coming down to turn off the microphones and the cameras. Thank you, everybody.